What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV with your host here, Dano, giving you the best content you're going to find on the internet. If you stay for 10 minutes, I promise you're going to stay for the entire episode because we're going to be talking about finding our own voice in this world. And yes, everybody does have a voice that matters, but it's all about tapping into it and kind of some strategies on how to make kind of people listen to you and not to make them listen to you because you can't make anybody do anything, right? But how to make your voice so strong and refined that people have no choice but to listen to you is a better way to say that. So strap in. It's time for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Chris, thank you so much for being here. You're already dropping it in and dropping that fire with the positivity posse today. Thank you so much. And you always give us some great insights. So I'm excited for you to be here. Jeanette is here as well, dropping the hashtag positivity posse. Thank you all for being here. We're in for a very, very special episode when the Positivity Posse is here and lighting it up in the comment section already. So thank you so much. And let's get started today with another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Let's get it, everybody. Everybody, thank you so much for being here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And we appreciate you so much for tuning in for this exciting episode on how to find our voices. And I do want to mention before we dive really deep into it that we don't really have to find anything. Our voices are obviously attached within us, but it doesn't always have to be that audible voice that you hear. It can be that impression on your spirit, on your heart, that can technically count as your voice as well. And it's up to you to kind of listen to that voice or to totally disregard it. But I highly recommend you don't do that because, as we all know, when we get our intuitions and we get those gut feelings, that is when the truth, follows us and guides us along our path, along our journey as well. So it's very important that we understand the voice can go a little bit beyond just our audible voice and the voices of others as well. It isn't always so loud and clear. So that's why we have to take some time to meditate, to listen to ourselves, all that good stuff that we're going to be diving into today's episode. So thank you so much for being here. You guys are already lighting it up inside of the comment section. Thank you, Lou. Let's go is right. We're excited to be here today and dropping the hashtag Positivity Posse. Thank you so much. Just to let you know, I don't know if you guys ever known this, but I run the show from two computers as well. So if you see me looking off to the side over here, it's to engage with your comments as well, because I have to grab a new mouse in order to use for this laptop. I don't have one that's connected. And I tried to connect this mouse to that one, but all that good stuff that goes along with it. So I'll look over to the side, just letting you guys know that's what I'm doing. And then Jeanette says right here, gut feelings are so important. Yes. As we all know, our gut feelings are linked to a source that is higher than us and is a lot smarter than us, right? I don't know where that voice is or where it leads to. I have my own thoughts and opinions. I know Chris has his own thoughts and opinions. Jeanette has her own thoughts and opinions. Lou has his own thoughts and opinions. Everybody does. But no matter what your thoughts and opinions are, we can all agree that it ultimately always leads to the truth. And every time you have that gut feeling, you are 100% right about whatever it is that you had that intuition about. And a lot of people do know that. But it's very important that we kind of actually practice it in our everyday lives. And just to show you really quickly as what we're going to be talking about today, here are the four main topics that we're going to talk about throughout the show. And please, I need your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, positive energy. Please share it with me because I'm so excited to learn just as much as you guys, about this topic of finding your own voice, some of the techniques that it took for you to find your own voice, or some of the things that you're learning along the way. And please understand another thing as well, because there's a few things that we need to understand before we have this, deep conversation, is that you do not have to be at that pinnacle in your point of your life that you have everything mastered. I encourage you to share, because we can learn from each other just as much as if somebody's, 5 minutes into their journey and they just started now, 5 minutes ago when they tuned into the show, or they can be 3 years down their journey or 10 years down their journey. Doesn't matter. Don't always think that you have to be at the pinnacle of your career or of your life in order to give back to the person that might need that information that you need to share. I know it's so easy to think that, oh, since I'm not there yet, or I'm not qualified, or I don't have this certification or that certification, that you can kind of deem yourself invaluable, or the things that you have to share are not as significant as somebody else. That is all false belief system. That is all a bunch of noise. So please do not fall into that trap as well. That is just our mind just kind of psyching ourselves out to really share our truths into the world. And you got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt as well, right? If you're that type of person that is a negative person and that things just aren't going right for you, this may be this time right now for you to just shut up and listen to what everybody else has to say, and really digest their information as well. Because I know all the things that I talk about, I actually do practice it, and it does take a minute maybe for one strategy or another to sink in. But that is actually the reason why I wanted to have this episode, was because of an event that happened this past week, and I believe it was on Sunday. And I'll tell you exactly why we needed to have this episode, because it was something that almost got to me. It almost ruined my day, but I didn't let it happen. So here it is. Jeanette says, "Golden Nuggets, you're dropping, Dano. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here and for helping further, drop the golden nuggets of positivity, wisdom, or whatever great energy, everything that it is that we bring together, me, you, and I, and the Positivity Posse here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV." And I already know it's going to be a good one. So it's coming from Chris. Chris says, "Explain how one can tell the difference between listening to spirit or listening to the ego that slyly leads you astray." I will definitely get into that. The quick answer is by the feelings that you're getting when you're listening to spirit or either that ego. And obviously we know anything that's given to us from spirit is going to be from a place of love, empowerment, great feelings. And if it's not, then that's how you know it's coming from your ego as well, if it's the opposite of that, right? And if it's not living up to that standard, I think we all know what that guidance system feels like, because we had a lifetime of experience to feel what's right and what's not right. And we can always listen to that gut instinct. But we're going to dive deeper into that in a little bit. That's just a quick version. The reason I wanted to have this episode, you guys are going to love this story, because I'm pretty sure this has happened to you before. And I was, oh man, it got to me for about a good 20 minutes. But then after that, we just let it go. So I was at a local store near me, and it was a great day. It was a Sunday morning. The birds were chirping. We had a fresh tank of gas in the car. Everything was going great, and still is going great. So I go into this store, and I go into shop for a few local items. And like I said, this store is local near me, so it's kind of a little bit, different than what might be going on in something in the South. But anyway, I go into the store. I'm shopping. Everything's great. I'm finding some things that I really wanted that I can add to my collection. It was a clothing shop, so that I can find to my, pieces. It's my wardrobe to look nice and look all sexy and all that great stuff. So I have a cart with me that I'm going by the store. I'm looking through everything. I go to the cashier. Everything is all great. I cash out, and I take the cart outside with me to load up my cart because it was quite a few items. So I close the trunk, and I take the cart all the way back to where the cart is supposed to go. Now, I know if you guys have, been on the internet before, they talk about that. They say that's like the ultimate litmus test to see if somebody is, a good person or not a good person, to see if they take the cart back to whatever it is that it needs to be returned. Now, for this specific location of the store, it's interesting because some people take the cart all the way on the inside of the store, or some people leave it outside. And there's plenty of places that you could probably think of that's near you that you have the inside option or the outside option. So it's really like, I don't know, maybe like a 15-step walk. It's not much at all. So I decided to leave the cart on the outside portion of where it's supposed to go. Now, as I'm walking to take the cart, it's so funny. And yes, I use that word funny because it is funny. It's so funny because in my head, I'm thinking, wow, I'm so proud of myself just for walking the cart to the freaking cart return area. And I know it's something that's so like minute and probably not important, but that thought is very important to the story, number one, but it's very important that we speak highly of ourselves. I thought to myself, damn, I'm doing such a good job that I'm taking the cart back to the cart return area. I know it sounds funny. So I go and I leave the cart there, and I see some lady coming out of the store right at the same time as I'm leaving the cart in front of the store. So lo and behold, this lady sees me leaving the cart there, and I guess she doesn't know that some people do leave the cart outside versus inside. So she looks at me, and I'm about to like turn around and walk back to the car, and she goes, "Would it kill you to have taken the extra 10 steps?" And it's really less than 10 steps, but she says, "Would it have killed you to take the extra 10 steps to leave the cart on the inside of the store?" And that was so funny to me because I'm like, isn't it interesting how I just thought to myself, I'm doing a good deed by leaving the cart at the outside pickup locations versus the inside. And this lady has the balls to say this to me, to say, oh, well, just basically like talking down on me is the energy I got from it, from not taking the cart back. So when I tell you this took me so off guard that I was tight and I really wanted to spaz on this lady, but I didn't. Instead, as soon as she said that to me, in a very condescending tone, I goes, "Oh no, that's where some people decide to leave the cart. Like it's totally up to you if you want to take it in or take it out." So this lady in the most condescending tone goes, "Mm-hmm." And he's just like brushing it off, like, yeah, like whatever, liar, is basically the energy I got from it. And I started to walk away because what I really wanted to say, I'm going to share with you guys because, we're always transparent here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. So what I wanted to say to this lady, because she was heavy set, is listen, the only person that needs to take an extra 10 steps is you, Tubby, on the treadmill. But I didn't say that as much as I wanted to. I had to hold my tongue, but that was the thought that did come to my head. And I was just so tight because I just wasn't expecting that. And so what happens is I'm walking away and I was just about to turn back to the lady and like really just go off on her and say, who do you think you are? All this stuff. But instead, I just kept my mouth shut and I just walked back to the car and I sat there and I thought about it and I really had to analyze it. And I had to say, why is it that I'm letting this lady get to me? Like that little sly comment, those little sly 2 comments. Why does it really bother me? And what's going on, David? So nice to see you. Thank you for being here. I hope everything is going well with you. Lou's getting the kick out of that. Yeah, I really did. I wanted so bad to say that because, like, who do you think you are? But anyway, and you got Jeanette here saying the shock face, and David says hashtag positivity posse. But yeah, man, that got me tight. So like I said, I'm sitting in my car now after wanting to tell that lady off. I think number one, the reason why it got to me is because it was such 2 opposite experiences that happened in such a split second. Like I told you guys, I'm going there thinking I'm doing a good thing, and then you have somebody else's perspective of you. Sorry, he says she needs Peter Popoff. Just ask Lewis. It's so funny that you do say that because that was one of the thoughts that did happen into my head. I'll get to that in a second. But like I said, the 2 reasons why this comment really got to me was number one, I just thought that I was doing the right thing, and this lady had just such a different perspective, and she just saw me as lazy, just somebody who wasn't doing the right thing, just probably like a piece of shit is basically what she saw me as. And I was living from her perspective of myself versus what I knew I was doing to be true and what what I thought was right. And that is just such a trap to fall into as to why we can start to really get pissed off into when somebody does have a sharp tongue towards us. It's easy to get into that. It's because we're living on what their perspective of our reality is and who we are as people. But I had to recenter myself to say, all right, I know that I was doing the right thing. I'm at a high vibration right now. I know that I did it with love and kindness, and I know who I am as a person, and no comment from other people is going to bring me down. And that was the line of thinking. I know it sounds corny, probably sappy and cheesy, but that is what I needed to do in order to get myself recentered back. And obviously, with a few deep breaths, and I actually did say, when I was in my car, I was venting. I did say, like, the words that I did say, like, listen, Tubby, you were the only one that needs to take 10 steps. But it wasn't towards anybody. It was in my car, which is me venting and getting that off my chest. And number two, the second thing that I thought about was everything that people say and everything that people do is a reflection of themselves. So obviously that lady must be miserable, or she must be vibing at a low vibration in order to just say that to somebody without knowing what their true perspective was, because she automatically assumed that I was just being lazy, when in reality, number one, I guess I didn't know, but I did know because people leave it out there. And two, I was doing the right thing. So it's just very interesting that these are the things that happen in such a split second that we can get encapsulated and brought into people's negative energy. And they say that there are opposites in this world. I know I do my meditations every day, my journaling, being here with you guys. I do everything that I talk about here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV to stay at that vibration of love and enlightenment and peace. But not everybody operates that way. And when they do see that you are at that, vibration, and that you have that light that's within you and that you're shining bright, people want to take that away from you. And I don't want to say that in an egotistical sense or from a place of ego. Not to say that, look at me, I'm this high and mighty person. Of course not. But I just know that I do work on myself every single day, and that is what I emit into the world. And not everybody sees it that way, so it's easily, it can bring you down. So, and I started to think about other people that kind of feed into that and get into that energy. It's because we don't take that time to really reflect on why these things bother us. Like, we just go about through our day and we think that it's always the other person, but that's not always true. We kind of have to see why it is that it's bothering us, dissect it, give it a new positive meaning, and then go about our lives, so that when it does happen again, because it will happen again, as much as we try to, avoid it or work on ourselves, there are just people out there that are like that. So when these negative things or negative people try to say something to you, it's important that we, find the reason why it's bothering us and move past it as well. So there it is, you guys. That was the whole reason why I wanted to start this episode and have this episode of finding our voice as well, because it is so optimal and crucial that in a world full of people that can be nasty and mean, there is that other side where we do attract our tribe, and we have those people that are there for us. Like we are here right now. We got Omar in the house, David in the house, Jeanette, Christopher, Lou, all you guys. We are all connected here as one to, attract our tribe and to give each other that empowerment and that love, whether that's only here for this hour on Weekly Dose of Dano, or that's, in other areas of our life. Because I know David and Lou and Jeanette, I haven't seen Omar in a while, but, this is how we all come together. So thank you guys for being here. And Christopher as well. Haven't seen Chris in a while either, but this is how we all come together to really support each other. So thank you so much again for being here. And I just want to talk about a few of the comments as well, just in case we can't read or somebody's doing something else. It's just so funny. So Jeanette says here, we don't know what people are going through. That was a perception of what she was going through that day, reflection of what she was going through. Yes, 100%. Had nothing to do with me. I mean, it had to do with me because it had to teach me the lesson that I needed to learn right there, and to reinforce that, introspection as to why things, bother me. So it had something to do with me, but not in the way that I thought it was. It was in the way to help me advance and develop and to strengthen my strategies even further that I share with you guys here on the show. Chris said she could have used some pumpkin spice lattes, 100%. She could have also used some intercourse as well, right? To get that tension and that release, that she could have used some of that as well. But I like your version better. of the pumpkin spice latte. So we'll go with that one because that's the the PG version. She needs to play in cornhole with Chito and David. I think that might piss her off even more because we all know how they play. And one of these days, I got to record, what the cornhole is like with Chito and David. It's so funny, so intense, and it's just such a great time. Her vibration right here, her vibration was low. Wanted to get you to that level. Of course, we all know misery loves company. We have Omar that says here, yes, it's nice to see that to know that you have the support, and thank you for commenting. Omar, you're the man. As cheesy as the homemade cheese crisp sound I had for breakfast this morning, yes, just as cheesy as that. Let's see. Interesting how two people think differently. We're the champs, even at bowling. I disagree with that statement, but that's for another episode. Rise above. Yes, that is so important to rise above because it's so easy to get sucked into that, and it's not a good place to be at. So when we rise above, as we all know, with the picture that I share with you guys all the time, the emotional vibration chart. Yes, we are rising above to that place of peace, love, joy, and reason versus that place of, grief, apathy, fear, and all those negative emotions as well. So when you are rising up, like you said, Omar, we are rising up to those higher places of love, excitement, happiness, all that great stuff as well. Thank you, Juliana, for commenting the positivity posse here in the building as well. Shedding that light, sharing that, positivity with us. Thank you for being a part of the positivity posse. And so it's time to go a little bit further into why we are having this episode for today. And I told you the reason why we're having the episode, but now we got to go through the strategies of what it takes to really live that lifestyle of finding your voice, having that confidence within yourself, and why it's important to share our voice with the world now more than ever. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Thank you, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Like, share, do whatever you got to do to raise your vibrations and rise above, like Omar said. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
Thank you so much for being here. That was our first sponsor, the Power of We Symposium in Chicago, happening, I believe, October 24th. I don't know if tickets are on sale just yet, but I'll keep you updated on everything that's going on with the Power of We Symposium. So now we have to get back to it, to all this great content that you guys love and enjoy so much. And I love providing it to you guys as well. We have David. Thank you for dropping that. And thank you, Juliana, for dropping that as well. But it's all possible with you guys, right? Because if you weren't here, I probably wouldn't have the motivation to do it. And even tonight, like I had one of the members of the Positivity Posse say, yeah, man, you got to do it. Even if, you don't feel like it, or, some things may be going on. I just had that extra motivation from you guys tonight to say, all right, it's time to get it started tonight. And it's time to we got to have this party every single week, as we all know. So let's get to it. We're going to talk about our ways that we should do, or things that we can do in practice in order to find our own voice in this world. And here it is. I think the first thing that we need to do is understand ourselves, right? If we don't understand what triggers us, what makes us happy, sad, angry, jubilant, all these great things, if we don't understand ourselves, then it's kind of hard to really understand what it is that we need to do and what we need to improve in our lives, right? So I say it every single week, and I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say it, but meditation is the best way in order to kind of get out of your mind and to understand that we are not our thoughts, right? Because when we do our meditations, we start to understand that every thought that comes to us, we don't have to feed into that thought, right? We can understand that, things are temporary, and we can start to discover who we truly are as, spiritual beings and as human beings as well. Because I can't even begin to tell you all the benefits that I've experienced with meditating. And I've just really freaking like turned my world upside down, but in the most positive light, or I did a 180 is a better way to describe it. I can start to understand what ticks me off. I can understand how to fight it and how to prevent it too. And just to have that sense of awareness of what goes on in our lives. Because I know there's been plenty of times in my life where we walk around, and let me know if this has happened to you before, where you're just walking around angry all day and you're like, damn, something's bothering me, but I don't even know what it is. And then you take it out on your relationships with your friends, your family members, all that good stuff. And then you just have this thing that's just gnawing at you, but you don't even know what it is. And I used to think about that all the time. I'm like, what the heck is bothering me so much? But we have to take that time alone to take that journey to discover ourselves just a little bit more. And that is when we can find our voice and really hear what it is that we're supposed to learn inside of that moment. There's some different things in order to listen to ourselves and to understand our true selves. And like I said, the number one is to be silent, because we can start to understand and view our thoughts that are coming in. If we say that we are truly a positive person, but all the thoughts that we have are negative, you're at an imbalance, and then you're not sure on how to fix the things, because all the things that are coming to you and that you're attracting into your life aren't really all that great. But you say that you're a positive person, but you're lashing out on people, but you want to do what's right. It's this teeter-totter, and it's this you're basically just pulling yourself in two different directions, right? It's like if two trains are going in opposite directions and you're in the middle of it, you're not going to go anywhere, and you're not going to make those improvements in those strides, because those actions that you're taking are not in alignment with your thoughts and who you are on the inside as a person. So you gotta make sure that you understand what it is that's going on inside of yourself. And this comment is so funny right here. It happens fast. I just heard this in your voice, so that's why that kind of threw me off, and that's why I was laughing. And he's not a finisher. That is so true. So that comment is true. So yes, for real, we are the big dogs. And yeah, it's really up to us to make sure that we are taking the time to understand what it is that goes on in our lives as well. So in addition to understanding what our true selves are and who our true selves are, we have to understand what we believe at our core values, right? Are we the type of people to stand up for others when, and stand up for yourself when things aren't going right? Or do you believe that, let's say in the monetary sense, do we believe that money is the root of all evil, which is a popular one that I don't believe. It's the love of money, what you do with it. And I just think that money brings out more of who we are anyway, right? So if you're a good person and you use money as a tool to bring out more of that good side and to help others in this world, then it's just a tool, right? But everybody has their own ideas and their beliefs on that. But when we start to identify what our core beliefs are in this world, do we honor the truth? Do we honor honesty? Do we honor strength and fortitude and what it takes? And identifying these beliefs, that's when we can start to see what we truly believe about ourselves and about others as well, because others are just a reflection of what we truly believe. Whether it's somebody passing by on the street, or you get somebody that's happy, or you run into somebody that's having a bad day, those are all versions of ourselves that we have experienced before too. So understand that we are not separate from others in that light, in that sense as well. But that is, something that we can talk about later on down the road. But yeah, so understanding our true self is the first step that we need to do in order to learn and to figure out what our voice sounds like and how to amplify our voice in this world. The next one is overcoming the fear of judgment from other people, right? And that's kind of hard to do. And I don't usually use that kind of terminology that something's easy or hard, but there's a lot that goes into being judged by other people, because that's the world that we live in nowadays, right? You can have somebody that posts the best, most uplifting content on social media, but then something happens where, they comment on your stuff with social media and they say, wow, you're ugly, or damn, you're stupid, or you have no idea what you're talking about, you're an idiot, and all these different things that could happen. But these are things that hinder us from going forward and to really put ourselves out there, because we don't want to be judged by other people. But as we all know, in order to fight that, we just can't really give a shit about what other people are talking about or what their judgments are of us, because nobody can sit there and truly know who you are just by a 5-minute conversation. You're the only one that has spent as much time with yourself as you have been. I know for me, it's been 27 years. Other people, it might be 15 years. And other people, it might be 48 years, right? Nobody is going to spend the time with you in order to really figure out your ins and outs. So if we know that people aren't spending that time to truly figure out who we are, then why are we going to listen to anything that they have to say when it comes to us? I mean, now, that can be taken with a grain of salt too, because if somebody's telling you something in order to improve you and to advance you to your highest and greatest good, then it's nice to, understand and take a little bit of criticism to say, okay, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. But if you see that people are saying it from a place of negativity and hate and just trying to tear you down, then that is something that we just push off to the side. We ignore that judgment. We recognize it, but we just don't feed into it as well. That is so hard to do, because judgment doesn't always have to be from everybody else, right? We can judge ourselves so easily, and we probably do it more than we would like to admit. Number one, with the meditation, we can really start to, stop that in its tracks, and we can, attack it early on in that thought process. But it's so easy to get down on ourselves, and our biggest critics are ourselves, whether we like to realize it or not. And that's why judgment is not always an external thing. It can be something that we do to ourselves as well. So I just want to read a few comments, because I know I've been talking for a little bit, but we are on a little bit of a roll. And I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. All right. Christopher says right here, how can you tell you know who you are when everything you think are simply created concepts from thoughts and not the reality of you? Let me read this one more time, because this can be a little bit confusing. So let me just say it one more time. How can you tell you know who you are when everything you think are simply created concepts from thoughts and not the reality of you? Well, everything that we do believe in and everything that we have constructed on what our thoughts of, us or your thoughts of you are, that's how you know who you truly are. And everything is really from that sense of true or false belief systems about yourself. So when you know who you truly are, number one, we could look at experiences that have taught us who we actually are, right? If we have overcome some sort of trauma or, negative relationships or trying times, and we have overcome it, even though we're created from that concepts of our thoughts, that's proof to us that we have understood that that's what we're truly made of. And I think when we look at these experiences and we look at the people that actually get through things in life, or other people that kind of take that victim mentality, that is how we can really truly tell who we are. And that's how we can really get to know who we are. It's by experiences. It's by what our belief systems are. And yeah, those are like the top two ones that I can tell you right now. And yes, I get what you're saying, because everything that we have developed between ourselves and all the definitions that we have given to ourselves, we have created it and we have assigned that value to it. So that's the beauty about knowing who we truly are, is that even if we're pretending to be somebody that we're not, we can change the definitions and the values of what we deem to be true about ourselves, right? Because you can have somebody that has a limited, mindset or a limited belief system about themselves, and if they know that's not who they truly are, then we can go and relabel it. And one more thing about this, because I know this can kind of go pretty deep, is that who we truly are is everything that's good in this world. We are truly rich. We are truly abundant. We are truly great beings. But I don't think, I know that when it comes to experiences that have happened in our lives and other people in society, all of these things kind of train us down and bump us down a few notches, if we let it, to really not see our true value in this world, because we are limitless, intelligent, awesome, loving beings. That's who we truly are. But it's the false beliefs that the society has created for us, that when we buy into it, that's who we think that we truly are. We think that we're not good enough. We think that we're, not beautiful enough. We think that we're not strong enough. Those are the false beliefs. But the truth are, and who we truly are all the great, warm, fuzzy feelings that we feel and we know to be true to ourselves. So I hopefully that answered your question. That is, like I said, a loaded question in such a short amount of time, but we can save that for another time if we want to dive into it. The comeback when Dano is winning, that's true. Even though he is the champ, I got to give you your credit, Dave. I'm coming for that title as well. So no, David Chido, the big dogs. Nah, I don't agree with that statement. See, here's a great example of what we choose not to believe in this world, and we reassign it to say that Lewis and I are the big dogs, and yeah, we're just gonna have to prove that theory as well going forward. Right here, Jeanette says, "Don't judge anyone." That is so true. Christopher says we're dipping toes into the deep end of Zen Buddhism here, and finally, outdated beliefs, let them go. So. He says, I would have fun with you asking questions on one face to face, and we can set that up too in the future as well. But now we got to get back to what I believe is what is truly important in finding your voice as well. So, like I said, what we've talked about so far is finding and embracing your authenticity. So it's understanding what your true self is and overcoming the fear of judgment. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break as well, because we have to cover the other three, strategies and ideas of what I think is so important in finding our own voices. So don't go anywhere. Like, share, do whatever you have to do to raise your vibrations even further, because we're going to hear a word from It Takes a Village Housing. Thank you to our second sponsor. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back after a word from It Takes a Village Housing.
Takes a village about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
Everybody for being here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, for sharing your positive comments, energy, questions, all these great things that we have come together with to spark this idea and this discussion of what it takes in order to truly find your voice. So now we're going to talk about the second thing, which I think we need to do, and it's setting boundaries with confidence. And there's been time and time again where we have all experienced some people may have overstepping their boundaries and trying to test you to see how far they can really go. I know that this has been a big lesson that I've learned, is kind of when to say something or when to really feed into it and defend ourselves or defend myself versus just letting certain things go, not giving it the energy or time of day. And it's been a fine line because it's hard because we can start to think about, oh, this person is insulting us. They're trying to talk down on us in the business world, in the personal world, all these different, areas and facets of our lives. But, I think if it's truly getting to us, number one, let's dissect why it's getting to us. But then number two, we have to set that boundary from everybody going forward because we train other people on how we allow them to treat us, right? Because if you have somebody and you just don't speak up for yourself and you don't set that boundary, they're just going to keep going and going and going until you actually say something about it. And I think that's a big reason kind of why kids get bullied nowadays in school or not in school, online, is all that stuff, is because they're not sure how to set that boundary or how to speak up for themselves. Because I know when I was in school that, my route was if somebody tried to say something to me or tried to belittle me, I would, reciprocate that same energy and say some things back to them. But they know that when you stick up for yourself and you set that boundary to say, I'm not going to accept that, then they go on to the next person to try to see how far they can get along to that next person, and they just keep going until they kind of find their victim, right? And if that person and if that kid doesn't know how to speak up for themselves, they're just kind of allowing that behavior to happen to them. So it's important that we listen and we set those boundaries to ourselves. And I know all these, it may be easier said in theory than to actually practice it, but we have to have these conversations with ourselves, with other people as well. And I know there's plenty of times where you're like, damn, like, I don't even want to have this conversation. Like, I'll just have it another time or I'll push it off until tomorrow. But all that time that you did push it off until tomorrow, you're still going to be accepting that behavior from that other person. And in that other person's mind, they still think that everything's all peachy and that, it's all right to treat you that way because you haven't stood up for yourself and set that boundary. So, we have to set these boundaries with confidence, and we have to learn how to say no as well. And that can be in so many different arenas and areas of our lives, right? If you're, going to college for the first time and you succumb to that peer pressure and you don't say no and you don't stick up for yourself to say no means no, that can lead you down a very bad path of, trying drugs and going down. And unfortunately, nowadays you really can't try, substances because ultimately it leads to death. And we see it going on in the news all the time that, little Ricky wanted to try this one thing, but ultimately they didn't know that, fentanyl or something, severe was inside of this. And then they end up passing away just because they wanted to try it. But, what was the steps leading to them to try it? It's because they weren't confident to say no, and they didn't recognize when to say no. And I know it's easy to think, oh, I want to be cool. I don't want people to make fun of me, this, and that. But that kind of goes back to what we were just saying earlier, to avoid that judgment and to really not really care what other people say. I mean, obviously, if they're trying to refine us and give us that encouragement and enlighten it to say you could have done this better, then that's when we can listen to them. But like I said earlier, when the judgment is coming from a place of hate or negativity, we just brush that off to the side. But yeah, setting boundaries is so important with ourselves, and we have to communicate those boundaries easily or clearly as well. If we're saying that our boundary is X, Y, and Z, but other people are not really listening to what you have to say or honoring or respecting you, you got to make those actions match what your policies and what your boundaries are, right? Because if you have a boundary, but somebody's not accepting it or they're not honoring it, then honestly, you really don't have a boundary because they're just superseding it and they're just doing whatever that they have to do. So we have to make sure that we're telling these people and having that effective communication to say, I'm not staying there for this anymore, or I do appreciate that you do this for me, or anything that goes in between those two things. We have to have that effective communication, and we have to speak our truth and what's working and what's not working for us as well. And then number three actually is make sure that you are, maintaining those standards between yourself and upholding that commitment to yourself as well. Because if, a person does that thing that you told them not to do every 3 months, or you'll notice a pattern where they'll do 3 things in a row, but on that fourth one, they'll cross that boundary, then you have to maintain that enforcement to say, nope, hey, like you're overstepping it. You're doing this thing again. Cut that out. And yeah, that's important to set the boundaries with confidence as well. Let me know what you guys think about that. Some things that you do in order to set effective boundaries. Maybe there was a time that you had an experience and you want to share with the Positivity Posse on what you've learned from that experience. Just make sure you kind of have that and share it with everybody as well. So now for number 3, we need to advocate for ourselves in every area of our life. If we're doing everything right in the business sense, in the business world, but in our personal relationships where we're going out with other people and you're just kind of letting them walk all over you, it's really important that we have that barrier in every asset of our lives. Because if we see like a river that's being polluted in one area of our life, and I'm using the river as an analogy for our lives, but if you see that one portion of that river is polluted, ultimately, you know that it's going to spread to every area of your life. And it's the same thing with, life as well. If we see that in one area, things are not going right and we're not upholding our values, and that can be the health sector, that can be the relationships area, the monetary area, anything, just understand that what we do in small things, we do in all things. So I know that sounds, interesting and it rhymes, but just keep that at the forefront of your mind. It's not possible to do one thing in one area and not uphold that same standard in every area of our lives. And yes, it is. I misspoke because I said it's not possible. It's not efficient, or we're not getting our ultimate happiness if we're allowing it in one place but not the other, or vice versa if we're allowing it in all but not one. So you got to be assertive and speaking up for yourself as well. And I know a lot of people, again, don't want to have these hard conversations to say, oh, I don't really want to have it. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to piss anybody off. All those things that go into it, those are just limiting beliefs. Because even though, let's say if you do bring this up to that person and you do piss them off, right? I'd rather take that person being pissed off for 5 seconds and, maybe 10 minutes or 3 days. I'd rather take that and feel good about myself, and they can go and live with that for as long as they need to process that emotion, versus me I'm the one that's suffering, and I'm going to be suffering indefinitely until I bring that up. That's something that they got to deal with. And if they do end up that, they deem that you're a jerk, or, you're being mean from upholding your own standards, which is ass backwards. But let's just say somebody does believe that and, they don't want to talk to you anymore. They don't want to be your friend. Then that's great, because you're cutting off the dead weight and you're cutting off that negativity that's coming into your life. And it leaves space for the people that do and that want to be there in our lives, that are going to be there to support us and to really honor us and to drive us to that next level of success and happiness and all that great stuff. You're leaving room for the space for people to be there. So even though you might think that you're losing something, or you're losing a friend, it could be a friend that you've had for 20 years or 20 seconds, and it doesn't matter. It's ultimately leading you to your highest and greatest good. So always keep that at the forefront of your mind, and stop worrying about what other people are going to think of us, as we're going along in our journey in the meantime as well. So the last thing that we need to do, and I just want to show this banner really quickly because we just talked about the top 3 things. So number 1, embracing authenticity. Number 2, setting boundaries with confidence. Number 3, advocating for yourself in all areas of your life. And number 4 is empowering your voice in the world, which is so crucial. And this might be the one that we get the most rewarding feeling off of, which is number 4, empowering your voice in the world. So we're just going to hear a word from one more sponsor, our last and final sponsor for today, which is a great success. And this is great because if your kids are going back to school, which, this is that season for that, or if you, have kids or know, the younger audience that are in schools, or maybe they're in college as well and they need some extra help, this is the perfect time to do it, because great success is the best teacher that is going to drive your kids' academic success to the next level as well. So here's a word from our third sponsor. And after that, we're going to dive into empowering your voice in the world. So don't go anywhere. Like, share, whatever you have to do for the final segment of Weekly Dose of Dano TV.
At Grade Success, it's our job to make sure that your child succeeds in school regardless of the subject or grade level. Our tutors are trained professionals who know how to promote learning and encourage results. Whether you are looking for help with SAT, ACT prep, private and group tutoring, K through 3 reading programs for your child, or educational consulting and college counseling, here at Grade Success, we can help you find the right answer. Visit gradesuccess.com to learn more about our in-person and online program options. Grade Success, where your child's success is our business.
Everybody, we're in the home stretch of this episode of Finding Your Voice on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Christopher says right here, also the season of pumpkin spice. Last year found a car wash promoting a pumpkin spice scented wash. Interesting. I would like to see how that smells, and I got to look out for that going forward. But yes, when you say pumpkin spice, I'm not excited for that. I'm excited for the pumpkin spice. Yes, the flavor is great, but that just I think about cold weather and the season starting to change, and I'm not excited for that. I love the hot, I love the heat, I love the warm weather, and I just wish it was like that 24/7. And I guess I can fix that, right? I can go down to the south where it is hot all year round, but it's interesting. So I love the flavor and all that stuff. Halloween's coming and all that good stuff, but I just wish it was hot all year round. But anyway, we have Jeanette that says thank you for great success. Thank you to Great Success again for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And finally, Lou says this hour has been flying by. Yes, it always has. I feel like every hour that we do the solo show, or even that we have the guest on, we just have so much fun. The energy is great, and you guys are always commenting and sharing your thoughts and ideas that it makes it go by so quickly. So finally, it's about number 4, empowering your voice in the world. And there's so many different ways that we can break this down. But my top tips for you are this, is we need to find what is effective in the world of public speaking. And I know a lot of people are petrified of public speaking because, again, we will be judged by others. What happens if we mess up? What if we totally forget everything that we ever rehearsed or that we're going to do? But these are just all, things that we kind of focus on. The negative side is everything that I just mentioned is what can go wrong. But we can flip that to say, all right, what can go right? How can we, effectively communicate with that world and with ourselves? So when we understand what is effective in the world of public speaking, that is how we can make our voices heard and actually impact people in our lifetime. Because I know a lot of people comment stuff on social media, or they comment stuff in real life, and that doesn't really change anything. It's when we lead by example, and when we effectively communicate our message through our actions, through possibly our words, our strategies, and all of that stuff, that is when the effect starts to take change in our lives and other people's lives as well. So that is a big way in order to have your power and your voice heard in this world. And you got to become a leader in this area as well, because everybody nowadays is looking for that other person, or looking to somebody else to find that source of inspiration and motivation, when we all know it's really already enrooted and it's already, deep within inside of ourselves. So, become that leader, lead by example. Stop looking at everybody else to kind of, tell you how to think or to tell you what you need to do. Tap into that voice, listen to it, feel it, and then actually listen and act out what happens when that gut feeling tells you what to do, and just watch the magic happen, unfold in front of you as well. And then we have to inspire others to lead by example, because once you are doing all of these great things and you're taking the tactics to live and find and spread your voice, then we have to share it with other people as well, because that will fill our cup up just as much as we're filling up the cup of everybody else. And really, really beautiful, magical things start to happen when we find our voice in this world. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that we're going to be able to achieve it overnight, which is definitely possible. But I know for me, it took a while, because even to have the show of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, this is me, sharing my voice with the world. And since you guys are all here, that it is possible to attract other people that want to be here and to support you as well. So don't think about the things that are not going right, or, if nobody's listening, that's all just, a scared mindset and things that we can do to talk ourselves out of our opportunities and to share our message. But instead, just do what you do for the love of it. Find the joy and the passion in it, and then don't worry about anything else, and everything else will start to follow and to flow into you, right? The money, the people, the likes, the comments, the shares, all that stuff, which, if you're doing what you truly love, then it doesn't really matter anyway how many likes or shares you get. But it actually does help you with that motivation to keep going stronger and stronger as well. So there it is, everybody. That was this episode on how to find our voices. One more time, just as a quick recap. If you got nothing, or if you got a little bit of too much information on this episode or golden nuggets, here it is, just to break it down for you guys. Embrace your authenticity, setting boundaries with confidence, advocating for yourself in all areas of your life, and then empowering your voice in the world and having the strength to share it with the world. This is what we need in order to find our voice in the world. And just another thing as well. I know you guys have heard about it, but I just wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on. Very, very soon, I'm going to be releasing my journal that I created. It's going to be a written journal, so you're going to have some limiting beliefs that maybe you might be experiencing or encountering, what the false belief or limiting belief might be, how we should think about it, and why it's a false belief. And then another page and another section to journal and to really, write our affirmations on what we can do in order to fight through that limiting belief. And it can be a journal as well, because I'm going to give you guys a space in there to really just, write your thoughts down and what feelings might be coming up when you think about, where this idea came from, or, how does this limiting belief make you feel, and all this stuff that, comes up when you're writing these new things. I'm going to give you space for that as well. That's going to be coming out potentially next month. There are some tweaks that I have to do, but I want to keep myself on that schedule. I'm just sharing with you, so be on the lookout for that as well. And then finally, I know I was shared with you guys that I'm going to be writing my chapter in an anthology that's coming out, I believe, in October. So keep your eyes peeled for that and everything else that's going on here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. We have been hired for a few events coming up in the future. So if you want to see all the great work that we're doing on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, which is powered by Dano's Worldwide Productions, follow us on social media. On Instagram and TikTok is at Dose of Dano. You can follow us here on Facebook at Weekly Dose of Dano TV. YouTube is Dose of Dano as well. And just reach out to us if you have stuff that you want to share with us, or just to tap in, or you want to hear more about our services. Send an email to doseofdano@gmail.com, and we can really start to really come together and make this all possible as well. So thank you guys so much. I'm excited for everything to come in my life, for everything to come in your guys' life, because we all know when we assign that positive value of everything working out for our greatest and highest good, there's nothing that's going to happen in our lives that's going to tear us down, that's going to get us sad or get us down, because we all know that it needs to happen. And when we know that it needs to happen, that means we're on the right track as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. Chris says 90 degrees through 100 degrees summer here. I'll take that. I'll take that over the cold. I'll take 90 degrees versus 0 degrees any day of the week. He says he's frying your brain a little bit. Well, hopefully we got you right back on track here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Lou says, keep it up. Thank you. You already know that we're going to keep it up 100%. Thank you for your kind words earlier, Lou. You were actually a huge motivation for me to keep going, whether you realize it or not, and to have this for tonight. Jeanette, yes, says, time flew. Time flies when we're having fun, and great work. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Be safe this weekend. Go and spread your voice, and actually really just go live what your true, authentic self is supposed to be, which is love, light, truth, and authenticity, and all that great jazz that goes along with that. So I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Peace, everybody.